Hi, I'm Richard Maraj, Senior Minister at Unity of Phoenix Spiritual Center, and I want to thank you for visiting our website and for tuning in to today's message. If you feel inspired by today's talk, I really encourage you to make a donation by hitting that button below and making a contribution to this ministry. It'll allow us to continue these messages online and to do the great work we do here at Unity of Phoenix, which is to inspire people to live better lives. So thanks for tuning in, thanks for your support, and we hope to see you at a Sunday real soon.
Morning again, everyone. And a shout out to everybody who tunes in and watches us online. Special shout out to John O'Leary who watches us online. Love you, man. You did a fabulous job the other day. Woo-woo. All right. So this elephant and lion are walking along. They're chatting about jungle business. Then suddenly the elephant breaks away and heads over to this river where there's a log and a turtle laying on the log. And he grabs a turtle by his trunk, pounds him on the ground 2-3 times, and flings it across the river. Then he returns back, and he and the lion keep walking and talking. And then the lion says, "Why did you do that to that turtle?" And the elephant says, "Well, because I recognize that turtle from 53 years ago, and he took a nip out of my trunk. So I was just paying him back." And the lion says, "Wow, you remember that turtle from 53 years ago? You've got an amazing memory." And the elephant says, "Yeah, I've got turtle recall." Okay, all right. That's okay, the first service didn't like it either. So how many people here have ever had a hard time getting over something hurtful that someone said or did to you? Anybody? How many people ever thought you were over something, and then a few years later it got triggered and you thought to yourself in surprise, "I thought I was done with that"? And then how many people have ever been like the elephant and have intentionally held on to a grudge for a long time? You know, today we're talking about freeing ourselves from the past. Because sometimes we think we're free, sometimes we really want to move forward with our lives, and yet there are things in the past we haven't quite released, things we haven't felt, things we haven't processed. Because the fact is, if we want to move forward with our lives, we really need to release and to free ourselves from the things of the past. Last week we started a 4-week series from the book You Are the One by Kurt Blackson. And it's about finding your purpose, discovering your real self, and loving more fully. And one of the things about it is that you are the one, but sometimes most of us have an easier time believing that someone else is the one, that someone else will be successful, that someone else will be more prosperous, that someone else is meant to do great and amazing things. And sometimes it takes some work for us to actually believe that we are great, that we are amazing, that we are gifted and talented and magnificent, and we are here to make a difference, and that we have that power to make an amazing difference. Sometimes we're waiting for something to happen, waiting for someone to help us, waiting for things to change, but the truth is the world is waiting for you. The world is waiting for you to accept the truth of who you are and to share your beauty, your gifts, and your magnificence. Because the truth is, you are a child of God. You are created in the image and likeness of God. You are shaped and are an expression of the intelligence and the divine energy and beauty and wisdom of the divine, of God. You know, you are amazing. You are an amazing, important, priceless expression of God. I am an amazing, important, priceless expression of God. Let's say that together. I am an amazing, important, priceless expression of God. Take a deep breath. Tell the person to your left and right, you are an amazing, important, priceless expression of God. Okay, that's enough amazing, important, priceless energy. Let's get back to our regularly scheduled programming. So the fact is, you are the one. You're the one the world is waiting for you to own the truth of who you are, to get clear about your purpose and to share those gifts. And for that to happen, what we need to do is to accept full responsibility for our lives. That if we want to be the one, we need to begin to accept responsibility and take care of our business. Sometimes with responsibility, the first thing we need to do about it is, in being responsible for our lives, is to free ourselves from the past. To free ourselves from the resentment and the regrets and the bitterness and the energies that keep us stuck in the same old pattern and the same old energy and pains of the past. I saw a Peanuts cartoon, and Charlie Brown is coming in from the outfield, and he's just about to hand Lucy, who's the manager, the baseball, and says these words: "Sorry I dropped that easy fly ball, manager. I thought I had it, but then I remembered all the other ones that I dropped. I guess the past got into my eyes." How often do we let some past pain or past belief that we're not good enough, or past idea that we've failed, or past experiences that there isn't enough, to influence how we're living today? Sometimes the past can influence our relationships of today, or how we're showing up, how we're feeling about ourselves, and how we see and feel about how the world works. And probably the individuals that have had the most impression on us and imprinted energies and ideas and thoughts on us are our parents. Sometimes some of the things our parents said, or some of the things our parents did or taught us, became a part of who we were, and they're not always as helpful. Sometimes, hey, don't do that. What will people think? You're just good for nothing. You'd forget your head if it wasn't screwed on. I mean, we heard all kinds of stuff. You're a bad boy, or all kinds of different things. And there were a lot of good things, but sometimes the not so good things stay with us for a long time and keep playing themselves out in our lives. Our parents were really our role models in terms of what love was. And sometimes, we had to get validation and approval. Sometimes in homes there was yelling or being belittled or being ignored or treated poorly. And sometimes that's our definition of relationships and love. And sometimes we keep repeating some of those same types of unhealthy definitions of what love is and how it plays out. From our parents and the many other aspects of life, it shapes and creates our self-image and our what we consider our reality of the world and how it works and who we are. We need to ask ourselves the question is, what conditioning from my childhood is still playing out in my life today? What conditioning did I read, and false beliefs and ideas about myself, that are holding me back from allowing myself to be happy and to experience more love and joy? What energy from the past am I still holding on to? What things have I suppressed? What are some unexpressed, unresolved emotions that are still going on inside of me and affecting me? And I'll tell you, when it comes to our parents, it's interesting because we absolutely, we love our parents. Parents, did their best. They raised us. And we have two reactions when it comes to looking back and dealing with our parents. One of them is we feel guilty about the possibility of being angry or blaming our parents or anything because we love them. And then the other one is we blame them for everything and say it's their fault. And so we go to each extreme. We just want to suppress it. And then the other one is we just want to blame them for everything. And neither one is healthy. What we need to do is just to acknowledge. It wasn't about them not loving. It was about the fact they did their best and maybe they were dealing out of their own hurt and woundedness. We just need to acknowledge things that had an impact on us and help feel it and heal it and release it so we can move forward to greater possibilities. So what is the unfinished business you're still holding on to when it comes to some of the emotional impact that you had from your childhood or you have had, from previous years in your life? Because I bet every single one of us has some unresolved pain that we need to work on. Because we end up keeping a lot of those past energies alive. And here's all the different forms of how we keep it alive. Resentment, anger, hatred, regret, guilt, shame, suppression, denial, numbing ourselves out or shutting down. And we don't need to do that. The fact is, these feelings are important that we acknowledge them, that we own that they had an impact on us. We feel them and allow them to move through us. What happens when feelings are in us and we suppress them? They actually get stuck. And they actually undermine us subconsciously. But if you actually allow them to be felt, they actually move through us. And they don't stay stuck in us. So we need to acknowledge the impact, feel the feeling, and then do our forgiveness work. Forgiveness is the ability to free ourselves from the toxic energies and emotions that we sometimes hold on to from the past. And whether it's from others or something we did, it is a willingness to release those energies, to free ourselves from them. And so who in your life do you need to forgive? And if it is your parents, or if it's an ex, or if it's a boss, or if it's yourself, forgiveness is freedom. And if we really want to move on with our lives, we need to take care of that unfinished business. And so everyone, think of someone in your life that you need to forgive, that there's some old unfinished business you still need. And then I just want you to close your eyes for a second and just want you to see them in your mind's eye. See them encircling God's light. And with a willing and sincere heart, just say half voice together, I forgive you completely. Together, I forgive you completely. Deep breath. And let yourself feel lighter. Let yourself feel release. Again, I forgive you completely. Deep breath. Feel yourself getting a little lighter and letting go. And one more time. I forgive you completely. Deep breath. The thing I've discovered with forgiveness is all you need to do is to be sincere. If you have a sincere desire to forgive, God will do that work of cleansing your heart and releasing you. And sometimes, the hardest person to forgive sometimes is ourselves. Sometimes we hold on to regret and anger towards ourselves, and sometimes even self-hatred for something we did or didn't do or say or didn't say. So I want you to put yourself in your mind's eye, close your eye again, and just say, I forgive you completely. Together. I forgive you completely. Deep breath. Feel nothing but love for yourself. And one more time. I forgive you completely. Deep breath. Just feel lighter. Send love to yourself. And one more time. I forgive you completely. Deep breath. Forgiveness is freedom, and you are the only one that can give yourself that gift. You're the only one that can free you. If we want to move forward with our lives, first thing we need to do is clean up our unfinished business through acknowledging, through feeling, and forgiveness. And the second one, after unfinished business, we got to mind our business. How many people talk to yourself? Okay. And I know someone who didn't raise their hand is thinking, I don't talk to myself. But everybody talks to themselves. Everybody has an ongoing conversation, mental chatter, inner dialogue, self-talk, call it whatever you may. We all engage in this activity. And it is not something that's bad, but what's important is to be aware of what we're telling ourselves. To be aware of what we're actually saying to ourselves, what our inner dialogue and what our self-talk is. Because sometimes it can be harmful and limiting when we say things to ourselves and like, I'm such a loser. Things never seem to work out for me. Or I always get hurt in relationships. Who am I kidding? I'll never get that promotion. We have all kinds of things we tell ourselves. Oh, did you see what he said to me? I think he meant that on purpose. I think they're all out to get me. You ever tell yourself crazy stories, or just me? And the fact is, we all have some things going on in our head, and we need to be more aware, because the truth is, some of the thinking we have can be very limiting on ourselves. When we think these things, there are many things we aren't willing to try. There are risks we aren't willing to take, things we aren't willing to say or speak up or share or be more vulnerable and create more intimacy in our lives. Because there are things we tell ourselves that absolutely limit what we believe we are meant to experience or achieve or what'll work or what we're worthy of or not worthy of. The mind is a powerful thing. The thoughts we think attract more and greater things. We think 65,000 thoughts a day. And most of them aren't true. There are false beliefs, unhealthy things that we think about ourselves, and limiting beliefs that we have about ourselves, that we aren't good enough, we're not lovable, we can never succeed. We have a lot of things that are just unhealthy. Remember Jonathan Livingston Seagull, the book by Richard Bach? Richard Bach said these words, Argue for your limitation and they will be yours. If you tell yourself you're not good enough and you can't, then that's what will be your experience. The thing is, thoughts are powerful, but thoughts are also only energy. And we don't always have to listen to what our mind is saying. Kurt Blackson, was quite overweight when he was young and he started running. And one thing he said that running did was not only help him get healthy and higher energy and lose some weight, but it actually helped him realize that sometimes our mind tells us things. Because he found when he ran, his mind kept telling him, I can't go any further. I can't go any further. That's it. I'm tired. I can't do any more. And what he realized was his voice would say, his mind would say that, but he had just let it go by and keep going and keep going. He built up to 6 miles a day. And then he thought, I wonder if you can go any further. And his mind said, no, you can't go any further. Legs are hurting, in pain. Stop now. Stop now. That's what the mind was saying, but he knew he could override his mind and his limiting thinking, and he kept running. And instead of 6 miles, he ran 16 miles that day for the first time. How often do you start something and your mind says, no, it's too hard, give up, stop, it'll never work. And sometimes our mind tells ourselves these things. And in the same way, we tell ourselves, no, I can't run any further. I can't run anymore. Sometimes we think, I can't love any further. I can't believe any further. I can't see myself having any more success. I can't see myself being that wealthy. I can't see myself achieving that book. Our thinking limits ourselves and reduces what we are capable of doing. So my question for you is, in what way are you limiting yourself? What is the self-talk you are saying to yourself? Because it's important to pay attention to those things and realize they're just a thought. Just let them go. Don't hate them, suppress them, because if you fight them, they will actually undermine you in your subconscious. We need to just let them be and realize when you mind your business, you can actually choose the thoughts you do business with. So when you pay attention and observe, you say, whoop, I'm having another thought that I'm not good enough. Whoop, and there's another thought, I'm thinking the world is against me. And then what you can do is begin to replace them. So you notice, hey, there's a thought I'm not good enough, but the truth is, I'm actually a child of God, and God loves me. And I'm an amazing, important, priceless child of God. So that anytime anything comes, like, I'm alone, it's like, nope, God is with me, and I have family and friends who love me. That anytime something comes into your head, just observe it, and then put in something that you know is a higher truth. Because often some unhealthy truths go on in our head. The question is, are you buying them and making them your business, or are you going to choose to do business with higher thoughts? Another important thing is that besides observing them and replacing them with a higher truth, sometimes just immersing your mind in the mind of God transcends your human thinking and gets your mind in the mind of God. And when your mind is immersed in the mind of God, with regular silence and quietness, what happens is thoughts that are not of God begin to fall away. Thoughts that are not of your true self begin to fall away without having to push them away. Because the more you're immersed in the mind of God, and your mind is immersed in that, everything that is not of God or the truth of who you are will begin to fall away. That makes sense, everybody? So clean up your unfinished business, then mind your business. And then the third one is expand your business. See, one of the things is sometimes we keep ourselves limited, and we need to move beyond our self-imposed limitations. That whenever we think we can't do something, it's important for us to go beyond that limit, to expand our business, to expand what we think we can do, how much love we can experience, how much success we can have. Here's a fabulous scripture in the book of Matthew, chapter 12, verse 9 to 14, that Jesus talks about going beyond what you think you can do, that the importance of expanding and stretching oneself beyond our limit. He left that place and entered their synagogue. A man was there with a withered hand. And they asked him, is it unlawful to cure on the Sabbath, so that they might accuse him? He said to them, suppose one of you has only one sheep, and it falls into a pit on the Sabbath. Will you not lay a hold of it and lift it out? How much more valuable is a human being than sheep? So it is lawful to do good on the Sabbath. Then he said to the man, stretch out your hand. And he stretched out his hand, and it was restored as sound as the other. One of the things here is notice that Jesus instructed the man to stretch out his hand, and he was healed. And what he's saying, in order to have a greater experience of life, you need to stretch beyond your current limits. You need to stretch beyond what you think you can do. Stretch beyond what you think you're capable. If you want your life to get better in any way, you need to stretch beyond what it is you're currently doing and how you are living and thinking and believing. Let's go deeper into this because there's more good stuff in this. Notice the context of which Jesus said, stretch out your hand to the man and he was healed, was actually in the context of the debate about the Sabbath. Is it okay to work on the Sabbath? And so the Pharisees are saying, no, it's not. And Jesus is trying to say, yes, it is. Because what he's saying is that if someone is hurting and suffering, and you don't help them because of this rule of the Sabbath, you're missing out on the compassion and the love and the very spirit that God wants us to express more of. So what he's saying, trying to get them to do, is to stretch their minds beyond some belief that they have that thinks that that there should be nothing happening, no work on the Sabbath. That he wants them to expand their mind into what love and compassion is. That it isn't about the Sabbath, it's about caring and helping people. Because their minds were stuck and limited in that area. When you look at Jesus' entire ministry, it's all about helping people expand their mind, expanding their business, expanding and stretching beyond what they think they know. The feeding of the 5,000, it was expanding people's mind beyond what they thought was an experience of lack. With an adulterous woman, when he said, he who is without sin cast the first stone, he was trying to get them to stretch their minds to greater levels of compassion and understanding and care for another person and not judging. You know, remember when he said, one of them said, should I forgive as many as 7 times? And Jesus said, no, 70 times 7. He's trying to expand our awareness of true forgiveness and the power and the importance of it. When someone said, who is my neighbor? And he told the story of the Good Samaritan. If you don't know, Samaritan were mixed race people and considered not good enough. They were impure. So here Jesus was trying to expand their idea that your neighbor is everyone. You know, interestingly, the word heaven means to expand. That if we want to have a heavenly experience, we expand our joy, we expand our faith, we expand our belief. So I ask you, in what ways are you limiting yourself, and is what way life calling you to expand? Expand into something greater. Expand into something more amazing. Expand into something that you might not think is possible right now. Kurt Blackson, you know, he moved from London. His mom was Japanese. His father's from Ghana. They lived in London. He felt called to go to Los Angeles. He wanted to be the next Oprah Winfrey. And so he's there starving in his apartment trying to figure out ways. And you know, he's doing his running and can barely pay his bills, but he's thinking big. So he reads some books, and he read a bunch of autobiographies, and one was of Steven Spielberg. And he was so impressed with Spielberg, because Spielberg knew what he wanted. And he went after it, and even though people dissuaded him, he kept going and, of course, achieved great things. And he thought, I want to meet Steven Spielberg. That was the breaking beyond the limit. He said, I don't know Steven Spielberg. I don't know anybody who knows Steven Spielberg. But that was his thing. He wanted to break through his limit that he could attract and meet someone amazing. So he started putting the word out. And then finally, he found somebody who did some work with Steven Spielberg, went to them and said, hey, can you introduce me to Steven Spielberg? They said no. And then he said, well, I do know someone who knows someone that was the soccer coach of his kids. And so he got that number, and he talked to the soccer coach. He said, will you introduce me? And he said no. But he took compassion. He said, I will tell you one thing, though. This is where they play soccer every Saturday. And so he got up in his best suit, put together his whole thing about what he wanted to be, everything. And there he is standing at a soccer field in a suit with kids playing and no Spielberg. So he went back again until he found Spielberg. And then as Spielberg's walking back to the car with his family and a whole group of people, he jumps right in front of them and says, I'm Kurt Blackson, and runs into his spiel. I'm the next Oprah, da-da-da-da-da. And Spielberg amazingly smiles and says, you know, I kind of like you. You kind of remind me of myself. And so he took his stuff. 2 days later, somebody called him he got turned down for the show. And he didn't get exactly what he wanted. But he was happy that he did the impossible, that he said he wanted to, and got to meet Steven Spielberg. I'll tell you, when you break through one limit, it begins to make you believe you can break through others as well. He had a lady named Jennifer. She was from Russia. She had a very thick accent, and she married a man. They were very wealthy, had 3 kids, drove a Ferrari, had all kinds of great, amazing things. But she knew she held back because she had a very thick Russian accent, and she had dyslexia, and it made her feel scared, and she wouldn't go after her goals or dreams. She limited herself because she didn't want to look foolish. Well, her dream was to become a real estate agent. So she ended up going with him to his India trip that he would take people on. And she said to him, "You can do anything you want, but the one thing I won't do is I will not jump off a cliff." And so they were doing a whole bunch of different things, and they went on a white water rafting, and there coincidentally happened to be a cliff about 40 feet high that people were jumping into the water. So he takes her out, and they go right up, and he says, "Okay, jump." And then, of course, she wouldn't jump. Took her 2 hours, and he's saying it's just in your belief. If you go through this beyond your limit, great things will happen. Finally, she did it. She jumped off. And then the other thing he took her to was a little school where kids were studying that many of them would never go to university. And he wanted her to do a talk, a motivational talk, to tell them she could do it. And he said, "I got nothing to say." "No, you did. You came from Russia. You've done all these great things. Tell them." And she did. So breaking through public speaking and jumping off a cliff, she came back to the U.S. Not only became a real estate agent, started her own real estate company that just was a booming financial success. And every month she speaks to 1,000 different people. And the point I'm trying to make is, whatever your limit is, whether it's running from 6 miles to 16, or trying to meet Steven Spielberg, or jumping off of a cliff, or public speaking, when you break through one limit, I guarantee you the universe will open up and expand you. Not only will you expand your business and how you live life, it will begin to expand in you and expand your life. So my question is, what limited thing are you willing to do? What are you willing to try this week? And maybe it's skydiving, making a phone call to an estranged family member. What is one action you can take that will take you beyond your limits? And then what is one belief that you've not allowed yourself to believe that will stretch your limits and take you and expand you in amazing and wonderful ways? The fact is, you are the one, and the world is waiting for you. But we all need to accept responsibility for our lives by cleaning up our unfinished business, by minding our business and expanding our business. Greatness lies and more prosperity lies ahead if you are willing to take care of your business. God bless you all.